We didn't just suddenly wake up one morning and we had the Xbox. We didn't wake up one morning and the internet was there. You know, how did we get there? That's what you want to know about history for.
Oh, are we ready to roll?
Yeah, we're rolling.
What I have next to me is the first bulletin board in the world, CBBS Chicago. People wondered if the C stood for Christensen or Chicago or whatever, and no, it didn't, because there was no such thing as a BBS, so it was a computerized bulletin board system.
I would enthusiastically describe it to everybody. I'd be telling, you know, my relatives, I'm like, so this is, I would dial up and I'd be talking to other people online, but not really talking, I'd be typing and leave the messages, and then later I can read more messages, and they all go, oh, okay, and they look like you've got some sort of disease or something.
I say it's kind of like America Online, but really scaled down, you know? It's not an easy thing to explain.
With this program you'd have on your computer, you'd dial a number, and you'd enter your name and password, and it would say hello, and then you could go to the messages, and you could read these messages. And then you could add one. And if you waited long enough, and I had to say months, other people would have called in and left messages, and after a few months, you have a conversation. And they're like, why? You know, they're all in their early 20s, and it's like, well, that's stupid. I mean, you know, and it is stupid. It was unbelievably stupid.
I try telling it to people now, I'm like, imagine AI, you know, AIM is down, and all of your buddies are gone. Your buddy list is empty, and you can't talk to anybody. And there's no email. And people don't quite get how bad that would be.
In a way, it's the next generation of things that have always been around.
The way the early telegraph stuff worked was they would have people walk into the counter and they're leaving all these messages, you know, handwritten messages, and someone goes over to the punch and they, with two fingers, punch a tape that's got the message, and then the guy in the back room of the office puts a little header on it. I've seen pictures of there's a rack with the tapes hanging from them, like dog leashes on a coat rack. And they tape them all together, and they put them into readers, and they're all transmitted over to some central routing place. And then they'll look at the numbers and they'll say, oh, this one, it's got the funny little codes that says OAK for Oakland. So then they would put the tape in the right reader and they'd route. So they're doing manual routing. So yeah, there's hardly any new things. I'm sure these guys were sending stuff, not for customer consumption. Because we know, because I have a lot of teletype in Western Union documentation and machinery. And we know that they inserted inter-office messaging in the stream. There's meta messages in the stream. How could they not chat?
You know, science fiction fandom going back to the 30s, people would use Mimeo or Ditto to publish fanzines, to publish their own newsletters with reports of conventions they went to, or book reviews, or just what's happening in their life, to talk to other people who are similar, who have similar interests, but might not be around them. You know, one of the few really nerdy science fiction fans in your school, well, there's not many other people you can talk to, but if you find that there are people somewhere else that you can talk to, and you subscribe to their fanzine, and then you start writing letters of comment back to it, and then you decide you want to start publishing your own because you've got a lot to say, and it's just this innate human need to form communities and to find other people with your interests.
Joining us now in the studio is Luba Levitsky, Educational Programs Marketing Manager with Control Data Corporation. Luba, we've heard about the Plato system from Control Data for a long time. What is Plato? Give us a little background on it.
Basically, Plato is a highly interactive, graphic-based, individualized, computer-based education system. And by individualized, I mean self-paced, and the instruction is tailored to the needs of each individual student.
Okay, you're online now with Plato on a chemistry lab experiment of some sort, and show me what this does.
Basically, this is a simulation of a fractional distillation experiment, and it simulates operations and processes of an actual experiment Prior to this screen, the student has already touched the screen and assembled the distillation apparatus as they would in a regular experiment. The objective is to heat the still and to obtain a pure mixture of two chemical compounds.
Lee Felsenstein, who was essentially the inventor of the portable computer, ran this project in Berkeley called Community Memory, which was essentially a free BBS that was available in laundromats and things like that. And it was a real meaningful attempt at giving the population at large a way to communicate and online.
A lot of inventions aren't, an invention where one person comes up with an idea and goes off and builds it. A lot of inventions are where there's some idea that's becoming current. The technology's gotten up to a point where it's going to support it. A lot of people know there's a problem. A lot of people are working on it in parallel. A couple of them will come up with solutions. One of them will be able to get commercial success out of it. And, so Thomas Edison's the one we know as the inventor of the light bulb. The other people who were working on it at the same time don't get remembered.
Randy Seuss and Ward Christensen were, we think, as far as we know, the first ones to establish a bulletin board.
1974, I learned about microcomputers, and the 8008 was out at the time, and asked what I needed to know, and got into digital electronics. And in 1975, the January issue of Popular Electronics had the Altair computer on the front cover, and I thought, oh boy, I don't have to design and build my own computer from scratch. I can actually buy a kit and have the fundamentals. And I didn't do it right away because I didn't want to be the only person with one. Hard to believe that that's now as universal as they are. So I went ahead and bought an Altair. There was this computer club that was meeting in the Chicago area, and CASH, the Chicago Area Computer Hobbyists Exchange. And that's where I met Randy, and he was the real hardware jock.
I was looking for something more to do. And then this damn thing called a computer came along. I had a F8 development kit. This is back before there was any idea of there being a personal computer. It was a little circuit board with a processor. I hand-coded things that would add from 1 to 10 and divide by 7. It was just absolutely amazing that you could make this little thing do that.
We said we had our own computer. Wow. Everybody's jaw dropped.
I went to a Comdex show where Intel had a booth, and for $300 you could buy a 8080 CPU right off the floor. And I took that home and showed it to my wife, and I said, honey, look at this. Do you realize what I can do with that?
You can see how seductive this must have been, because to have your own computer, I mean, it was really amazing, given that they were multi-million-dollar things that you had to share with everybody else. The idea of having your own was pretty seductive.